A gracious good day to one and all once again. 'Tis I, Norton the First, by grace of God, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico. Back with you all once again for episode number 146 of Emperor Norton's fantastic history vlog. Today is September 29, 2020. It is our 196th day under COVID-19 restrictions. A couple of programming notes to start off with. We appreciate your indulgence with us for last week. We did take most of the week off except Saturday because of the death of the Dowager. So we greatly appreciate our fans holding on for more regular episodes. That said, this week we're only going to have a couple. Today and Friday, we have some imperial business to take care of on Wednesday and Thursday that requires our attention. And so we will not be coming to you as we normally do on those days. Of course, we will have the Saturday with the Countess Lola Montez of Landsfeld, as we always do. Although that will be on Sunday this week because of, well, it's imperial matters, yes. And we are also considering a change to this vlog. It's not going to be immediate, but down the line, we are considering making this a once a week vlog and podcast. And we'll just be discussing one story in San Francisco history and then a brief almanac of what happened in the previous week in San Francisco history. So it's something we're considering. We have not made any firm decisions yet. We are going to be having a technological upgrade soon. We'll be able to do green screen. So yes, that's something we're greatly looking forward to. The piece of software, the app, as you say, that we used to create this vlog just had a significant upgrade. So we now have the ability to do green screen. So you'll see different backgrounds in the near future, probably about 2 weeks from now. Well, let's move on to our stories for today. It's going to be a long vlog today, a minimum of graphics, because we're going to be covering 4 days. We're not really sure how we're going to do that moving forward when we skip a day or two, but we'll see. Let's start with our national days. Starting on the 26th, Johnny Appleseed Day. And Johnny Appleseed was a real person, yes indeed. It is, let's see, the 27th was Crush a Can Day. And World Tourism Day. The 28th, Confucius Day. We'll get to him later on. National Drink a Beer Day. That's good. Where was I? Ask a stupid question today. Excuse me. And don't forget, you can leave your stupid questions down below. Actually, there are no stupid questions. We're always glad to answer them, and we don't get a lot of comments except from adult-oriented businesses with their links. What's that all about? I don't know. Anyway, leave your questions below. Yesterday, of course, was Yom Kippur, the most holy day of the Jewish calendar, the Day of Atonement. Hope your fast was easy. And today is National Coffee Day. Well, we had our 2 cups already. Hope you had yours as well. Need something to offset that beer, but it was good. Moving on to Florida, man. We have 2 today. Pardon me. On the 26th of September, Florida man uses Glock handgun to kill fish underwater. Okay. And on the 28th, Florida man threatens Red Lobster. I work for the Taliban and I have a bomb in this bag. I guess they should have gotten them those. What is it that's so big at Red Lobster? Cheese biscuits, I think it is. Maybe they ran out. I don't know. Oh, excuse me. Well, since I brought that up, Let's move on to a pertinent story, actually, because on September 24th, 1965, Fritz Maytag bought the Anchor Brewery. And for these stories, we are relying on John Ralston's book, This Date in San Francisco. September 24, 1965, Fritz Maytag buys the Anchor Beer Brewery. Beer was essentially unavailable in California before the gold rush. In 1849, one William Bull established the Empire Brewery in San Francisco, probably California's first commercial brewery. Beer is often snobbishly derided, but brewing is complicated. Fermentation of the barley from which most beers are made requires precise temperature control. In the Midwest, cool temperatures were maintained by surrounding fermentation tanks with ice from local ice houses. Natural ice being almost unknown in San Francisco, brewers in pre-refrigeration days fermented barley in open tanks, circulating San Francisco's cool air to cool them. The mist that rose off the open tanks may have inspired the term steam beer, although no one knows for sure. In 1896, German immigrant Ernst Baruth and his German immigrant son-in-law Otto Schinkel bought a brewery on Pacific Street between Larkin and Hyde, founded in 1871 by another German immigrant, Gottlieb Breckel, renaming it Anchor. No one knows just where the name came from, thereby Anchor Steam Beer. Frederick L. Fritz Maytag III was born in 1937, the great-grandson of Frederick L. Maytag, who founded the Maytag Appliance Company in Newton, Iowa at the end of the 19th century. In 1941, the Maytag family began a specialty food tradition by producing Maytag blue cheese, an excellent blue cheese, using milk from Iowa cattle. Fritz Maytag was privileged, but he was also expected to branch out, not just inherit the family business. He came to San Francisco and hung out in North Beach, downing a glass of Anchor steam beer at the old spaghetti factory one evening. He was told to enjoy it while he could because the brewery was going out of business. Anchor Brewery had only $120 in the bank. On September 24, 1965, Fritz Maytag bought a 50% interest for probably a few $1,000s. Maytag's inheritance kept Anchor going, and he turned it around. In 1969, he bought the remaining 50% interest. In 1971, Anchor began bottling its beer. In 1972, it introduced porter, a dark brew, and in 1975, turned a profit. It's still going. It's now owned by Sapporo, the Japanese brewers, but they have promised to leave the brewery alone. Basically, there are many, many different varieties coming out of there today. They also do distilling that was not sold to Sapporo, but is now independent of Anchor Brewing, steam beer. It's a wonderful local beer. If you've never had it, it's just the best. So check it out sometime. Have a bottle. I wish that's what this was this morning, but so what I had on hand was a Tecate, which is fine. Mexican beers are great. We're going to skip forward a little bit to September 29, 1923, and then go back a couple days. You'll understand why in just a moment, because it was on September 29, 1923, the Steinhardt Aquarium is dedicated. Sigmund Steinhardt and his brother Ignaz were born in Sulzbach, Bavaria in 1833 and 1841, respectively. The Steinhardt brothers immigrated to California, where Sigmund opened a dry goods store in Placerville, El Dorado County. Coming to San Francisco, Sigmund continued a successful business career and joined several gentlemen's clubs. Ignaz became managing director of the German Bank of San Francisco, among other businesses in which he was involved. Both Steinhardts were interested in aquariums. At his death, Sigmund, never married, bequeathed funds to Ignaz to establish an aquarium in San Francisco. Ignaz tried to interest the director of the Panama Pacific International Exposition to include one in the 1915 event, but was turned down so hard he almost lost all interest and was about to invest the money in a hospital. The Steinhardt's aquarium plans got a second chance in 1914 when Dr. Barton Warren Everman, who had studied ichthyology under first Stanford University President David Starr Jordan, came to San Francisco in 1914 to be director of the California Academy of Sciences. Steinhardt agreed to donate $75,000 on the condition that the aquarium be located in Golden Gate Park and managed by the Academy, maintenance being paid by the city of San Francisco. Just before dedication, however, a judge advised the city would have to pass a charter amendment to pay for the aquarium maintenance. The Board of Supervisors hurriedly placed an amendment providing $20,000 annual appropriation on the November 1916 ballot. It passed overwhelmingly. The Steinhardt Aquarium was dedicated on September 29, 1923. A crowd estimated at over 2,500 was entertained by a band, heard addresses by Academy Board of Trustees President William Crocker, Academy President C.E. Grunsky, David Starr Jordan, Everman, and Mayor Sonny Jim Rolfe. Such gifts as these have a value beyond themselves, Rolfe told the crowd. Happy is that city whose public-spirited citizens adorn and beautify it with such beautiful memorials. The Steinhardt Aquarium is still with us, but it had to be rebuilt, so we'll get to that next. If you've never been there, we strongly recommend it. Because, oops, I'm sorry, I seem to have lost my place here. Let's go get it back. Let's see, that's the 29th. We need to go back to the 27th. Here we go. Because on September 27, 2008, the new California Academy of Sciences opens in Golden Gate Park, and it contains the Steinhardt Aquarium. The Loma Prieta earthquake of 1989 was not as destructive as the great earthquake of April 18, 1906, but like it, it changed the face of San Francisco, not necessarily for the worse. The hateful Embarcadero Freeway was badly damaged and had to be raised, reopening the vista down Market Street. The Central Freeway over Market Street near City Hall was also raised. Loma Prieta also hastened the ends of two iconic but aging structures in Golden Gate Park. The M.H. DeYoung Museum, opened in 1921, was damaged and had to be propped up by unsightly girders until demolished in 2001. A new structure opening in 2005. Across the music concourse, the California Academy of Sciences, which had relocated in the park after the 1906 earthquake and fire, was also badly damaged. By the end of the 20th century, it was a much-loved 80,000 visitors annually, but was a hodgepodge of deferred maintenance. A new academy had to be built, but faced major problems. Transportation had always been an issue, and there was a lack of parking, so it was resolved when philanthropist Warren Hellman, a great man, headed a private campaign to raise funds for a garage with an entrance off Fulton Street that would serve both institutions. The other major problem was obviously money. Initial estimates for the new academy were close to $400 million, much the largest sum for an academic and cultural project in San Francisco's history. In March 2000, voters approved an $87 million bond issue, far short of the total, but a fundraising effort led by former investment banker George Montgomery would supply the rest. In early 2004, the Academy of Sciences moved out of its old quarters and relocated in temporary ones on Howard Street. A publicity campaign conducted for months before the new academy opened to ensure that the new building would attract attention, which it did. In the weeks before the official opening, on September 27, 2008, articles ran in numerous publications. The September issue of the design magazine Metropolis put the Academy on the cover with an article calling it a building of mythic proportions. The internet edition of the Sunday Times of London mentioned the green roof, which California, being a drought year, it hoped would not turn brown. The opening gala was also wonderful. The new Academy's final cost was $482 million. It was certainly not cheap, but it continues San Francisco's traditions of innovation, environmental activism, and academicism. I don't think I've ever read that word before. As I said, check it out. It's quite wonderful. Well, let's get on with our other history for today, and we do have quite a bit. Starting with the 26th of September in 1580, Sir Francis Drake completes the circumnavigation of the world, sailing into Plymouth aboard the Golden Hind. 1665, at the height of the Great Plague of London, as 7,165 people died throughout the previous week. 1789, Thomas Jefferson is appointed the first U.S. Secretary of State. John Jay becomes the first U.S. Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. 1914, the Federal Trade Commission is formed to regulate interstate commerce. 1946 rather, the first edition of Tintin, a real favorite of ours, publishes until June 1993. 1960, the first of 4 TV debates between Nixon and Kennedy took place. It was in Chicago. Tonight is the first presidential debate in this current campaign. 1963, alleged presidential assassin Lee Harvey Oswald travels on Continental Trailways bus to Mexico. We'll come back to him later. 1966, Staten Island, the first icebreaker to enter San Francisco Bay, arrives. I don't know why we needed an icebreaker here, but that's what happened. 1986, on the TV soap opera Dallas, Bobby, played by Patrick Duffy, Bobby Ewing, returns to Dallas. He'd been off for a year. He'd supposedly died. The new season started. There he is in the shower. The entire last season was a dream, a bad dream. So everything that happened in that season was basically erased to bring him back. 1995, George magazine premieres, published by John F. Kennedy Jr. It was a great magazine. We miss it a lot. Moving on to the 27th, 70 walls of Upper City Jerusalem are battered down by the Roman army. 1822, French, well, that was in the year 70, by the way. Not 70 walls, in the year 70, sorry. 1822, French scholar Jean-François Champollion, excuse my French, announces he has deciphered the Egyptian hieroglyphics using the Rosetta Stone. 1905, the physics journal Annalen der Physik publishes Albert Einstein's paper, Does the Inertia of a Body Depend Upon Its Energy Content? Introducing the equation E equals mc squared. 1908, Henry Ford's first Model T automobile leaves the Piquette plant in Detroit, Michigan. Excuse me if I mispronounced that. 1916 is the first Native American Day celebrated honoring American Indians. We never heard of this holiday, so I don't know if it's still being celebrated, but it should be. 1937, the first Santa Claus training school opens in Albion, New York. People have told us that we should play Santa Claus. No, we won't be doing that. 1941, President Theodore Roosevelt launches the first Liberty ship freighter, SS Patrick Henry. Those were built by the thousands, and some of them right here in the Bay Area. We still have the Jeremiah O'Brien, which barely escaped a fire last year. 1945, U.S. General and head of the Allied occupation of Japan, Douglas MacArthur, meets Emperor Hirohito in Tokyo for the first time. 1961, Sandy Koufax sets the National League strikeout season record of 269 with the greatest pitchers of all time. 1963, returning again to Lee Harvey Oswald, he visits the Cuban consulate in Mexico on that day. Moving on to the 28th, 1066, William the Conqueror invades England, landing at Pevensey Bay, Sussex. 1542, explorer Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo discovers California, well, first discovered by Europeans at least, at San Francisco Bay, naming it San Miguel, and claims it for Spain. So California could have been named San Miguel. I think California is a better name. 1787, Congress sends the Constitution to state legislatures for their approval. 1889, the first General Conference of Weights and Measures, the CGPM, defines the length of a meter as the distance between two lines on the standard bar of an alloy of platinum with 10% iridium measured at the melting point of ice. I didn't know that. 1963, New York City DJ Murray the K plays the Beatles' She Loves You on the radio. I believe that was the first time a Beatles record was played in the U.S. Murray the K is sometimes credited with introducing the Beatles to the U.S. 2008, SpaceX launches the first ever private spacecraft, the Falcon 1, into orbit. Moving on to the 29th, 1916, American oil tycoon John D. Rockefeller becomes the world's first billionaire. 1941, the Nazi massacre at Babi Yar near Kiev. 33,771, mostly Jews, are murdered that day. 1959, Little Anthony and the Imperials record Shimmy, Shimmy, Coco Bop. Shimmy, shimmy, coco bop, shimmy, shimmy, bop. 1962, President John F. Kennedy, authorized the use of federal troops to integrate the University of Mississippi. 1966, coming back to Sandy Koufax again, he pitches his third 300 strikeout season. 1966, the Chevrolet Camaro, originally named the Panther, didn't know that, is introduced. 1967, Gladys Knight and the Pips releases I Heard It Through the Grapevine. 1989, Zsa Zsa Gabor is convicted of, not loud enough, that's better, slapping a police officer in Beverly Hills, to slap her around the world. Not the one I just did. 1990, the Washington National Cathedral construction is completed after 83 years, and that is to the day. Moving on to our births today. Starting with the 26th, 1181, St. Francis of Assisi, Italian founder of the Franciscan order, is born in Assisi in the Holy Roman Empire. St. Francis of Assisi, of course, is the namesake of San Francisco. 1774, Johnny Appleseed, John Chapman, American pioneer nurseryman, is born, and that's why it is Apple Day, Johnny Appleseed Day on the 26th. There you go. 1849, Ivan Pavlov was born, Russian physiologist and pioneer in psychology. Excuse me, every time a bell goes off, I salivate. Now, 1871, Winsor McCay, a wonderful cartoonist, a pioneer of animation. Of course, he did Little Nemo, Gertie the Dinosaur. If you've never seen his works, check it out. Just wonderful stuff. 1888, born T.S. Eliot, American poet, dramatist, and critic, Nobel Prize winner in 1948. 1889, Martin Heidegger, German philosopher, born, he was a boozy beggar, I have heard. 1914, Jack LaLanne, American fitness and nutritional expert, born in San Francisco. If you've never been to John's Grill near Union Square, where the Maltese Falcon was written, their Jack LaLanne salad is highly recommended. How can you go wrong with avocado and Dungeness crab? Got to get down there and have one. They're open. They're doing sidewalk service. 1926, singer Julie London. 1936, Winnie Mandela, South African anti-apartheid activist and ANC, African National Congress politician. 1948, Olivia Newton-John. 1962, Melissa Sue Anderson. Moving on to the 27th, 1722, Samuel Adams, American revolutionary and great beer. Beer's coming up a lot today, isn't it? 1803, Samuel Francis DuPont, American Rear Admiral, born in Bayonne, New Jersey, the namesake of DuPont Street, which is now Grant Avenue. It was formerly DuPont Street in my day. 1840, Thomas Nast, German-American caricaturist and political cartoonist of the late 1800s. He was probably the first political cartoonist. 1896, Sam Ervin, U.S. Senator from North Carolina and Watergate Committee Chairman. 1920, actor, announcer William Conrad. He was the announcer on Rocky and Bullwinkle, but of course he also had a TV series named Cannonball, I believe it was. 1922, director Arthur Penn. 1926, Jane Meadows. She was an actress, or actor, sorry, I don't use gender terms here. Was also married to Steve Allen. 1929, any fans of the TV series Family will remember Seda Thompson. 1934, Wilford Brimley, who died recently of diabetes. 1947, the singer Meatloaf. His real name is Marvin Lee Aday. I saw the stage production of the Rocky Horror Show the night that Nixon resigned. Saw it 2 other times, and he was in it. He played Rocky. 1958, singer Sean Cassidy. Moving on to the 28th, 551 BC, Confucius, Chinese philosopher and founder of Confucianism, writes Confucius Day that day. 1901, William S. Paley, founder and chair of CBS Network. 1902, a really big shoe, Ed Sullivan. 1909, Al Capp, a cartoonist famous for Little Abner. He also had a wooden leg. He sometimes liked to freak people out by sticking a knife in his leg before he told them that he had a wooden leg. He was quite a prankster, he was. Of course, Little Abner was a great cartoon. 1916, actor Peter Finch. 1924, we got a few actors here. Marcello Mastroianni. 1934, Brigitte Bardot. 1938, Ben E. King, famous for the song Stand By Me. 1948, a truly gifted person, Phil Hartman, a great actor, comedian, and a great artist, too. He designed the Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young logo. I think it was Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Might have just been Crosby, Stills, Nash. But check out his album covers sometime. In addition to being just a gifted mimic and comic, he was a great artist. Was unfortunately killed by his wife, who suffered from mental illness. What a loss. 1967, Moon Unit Zappa, the daughter of Frank Zappa, and she was on his hit song Valley Girl. Guide me with a spoon. Y'all going to the Galleria later on? Far out. Where was I? Moving on to the 29th of September, 1547, Miguel de Cervantes y Saavedra, Spanish author of Don Quixote. You know, there are a lot of parallels between our life and Don Quixote. One of these days, the Grand Duchess Judy Leff and I are going to do a musical based on that premise. I am Emperor Norton. That's a little sample there. Where was I? 1758, Horatio Nelson, British admiral and the hero of Trafalgar. 1901, Enrico Fermi, the Italian-American nuclear physicist. 1912, Michelangelo Antonioni Ferrara. He was the director of Blow Up. Hope I pronounced his name correctly. Another producer-director. 1913, Stanley Kramer. 1923, that was 1930. 1923, Stan Berenstain, the creator of the Berenstain Bears. 1927, Pete McCloskey, a good Republican, lives here in the Bay Area. 1929, Bob Newhart. Wow, he's 91. Happy birthday, Bob. Oh, you know about the drinking game, Hi Bob? You ever watch the old Bob Newhart show? Anytime anybody says, Hi Bob, you have to take a drink. I measured it once. It was like twice every second. Think about that, 60 drinks. I want to go there. 1935, the great piano player, early rock and roller, Jerry Lee Lewis. 1943, Lech Walesa, Polish Solidarity Movement leader and the president of Poland from 1990 to 1995, a Nobel Peace Prize winner in 1983. 1948, talk show host, sportscaster, Bryant Gumbel. Moving on to our deaths today. 1820, American frontiersman and explorer Daniel Boone. 1902, Levi Strauss, somebody who's very important to San Francisco history, the manufacturer of Levi's blue jeans with those riveted pockets. He did not invent that. That was Jacob Davis, and that's a whole other story we'll get into one of these days. 1946, William Strunk Jr., American grammarian and co-author of The Elements of Style. I guess I should be using some bad grammar right now, shouldn't I? Yes. I think that's bad grammar. I'm not sure. Get out your Elements of Style. Moving on to the 27th, 1870, Henry Comstock, Canadian silver prospector, the namesake of the Comstock lode. 1917, French impressionist Edgar Degas. 1944, Canadian-American evangelist Aimee Semple McPherson. 2017, the publisher of Playboy, Hugh Hefner, who is buried next to Marilyn Monroe. Moving on to the 28th, 1891, Herman Melville, the writer of Moby Dick. 1895, French bacteriologist who invented pasteurization, Louis Pasteur. 1953, Edward Hubble, American astronomer, first to announce the existence of other galaxies. He did his research at the Mount Wilson Observatory, which almost burned down a couple of weeks ago. Very historic spot. 1956, William Boeing, American aviator pioneer who founded the Boeing Company. 1964, Harpo Marx. Oh, we adored Harpo. We go back and forth as to who was our favorite Marx brother. Of course, Groucho was always a favorite, but Harpo, oh, he was such a kind and wonderful man. If you've never read his autobiography, Harpo Speaks, it's well worth it. That was his famous face that he made called The Gookie. 1966, André Breton, French writer and poet, the founder, they say, of Surrealism. 1978, Pope John I, the 263rd Roman Catholic Pope, dies after 33 days as Pope. 1989, Ferdinand Marcos, President of the Philippines, some would say dictator. 1991, the great trumpet player Miles Davis. 2000, Pierre Trudeau, the 15th Canadian Prime Minister. Moving on to the 29th, 1913, Rudolf Diesel, yes, the inventor of the diesel engine. 1988, Charles Addams, oh, one of our favorites, cartoonist, the creator of The Addams Family. 1995, Madalyn Murray O'Hair, American atheist, who opposed prayer in school, is murdered at 76, along with her son John, by David Waters. 1997, one of our favorite pop artists, Roy Lichtenstein. 1998, Tom Bradley, former mayor of Los Angeles. He was the mayor for 20 years. 1973 to 1993, really left his imprint on the city. Our quote from today is from Confucius, appropriately. It is easy to hate, it is difficult to love. This is how the whole scheme of things works. All good things are difficult to achieve, and bad things are very easy to get. Very wise words from Confucius. Well, that wraps it up for today's edition. We went over 33 minutes. And don't forget, there is no vlog this Wednesday and Thursday. We will see you again on Friday. I don't know if we're going to do a catch-up day, but we may just do that to get us caught up on the missing days. We're not sure how we're going to handle that in the future, but we'll work it out. So until we see you again, stay safe, stay inside, and therefore, stay healthy. Now, don't forget, if you want more information about the tours that the Countess and I do, we will be returning to those again sometime soon. We're thinking about starting our tour up again in October, hopefully. There's the web link for that. Also, we accept donations. Leave a tip. Here's the information for that. Now, if you do go outside, don't forget to wear a mask. The simplest thing you can do to stop the transmission of this dreaded virus. Please wear a mask. You know we would be back to relatively normal by now, as many other countries are, if we had been compliant. Don't take unproven cures that might kill you. The people that are recommending them are more interested in hanging on to power than they are your well-being. Most of all, be kind to one another. Until we see you again, a gracious good day.